Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. We're very glad you're with us this morning. It is February 18th, 2022. Our agenda this morning, we'll start out with success stories. I do know of one landing from our group. We'll then have everybody put their 30-second introductions into the chat window. We'll go to our committee reports, workshop, job fairs, practice interview team, the interview success workshop, the career tip of the week, and then we will have our main event. For those people on Zoom, we will be using the chat box to enter if you have any questions or to put in your 30-second introduction information. And for those watching on Facebook right now, thank you for joining us. Please just enter any questions and stuff into the comment field. We are monitoring that feed. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano group since 2007. The group's been around since the late 1990s. I took it over in 2007. In 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org to help those who are unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I started a second website, careerusa.org, to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search that you may not know. It is available on Amazon. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team, and you'll hear more about that in just a moment. Well, we like to start the meeting off with good news. Do we have anybody have any landings they'd like to announce before I announce the one that I know of? Anyone? Well, we do have one landing. I just found out about this person this morning, Geneva Silver. If you remember a couple of weeks ago at Open Forum, she just sort of said about how difficult her job search was and about how bad things were. You know, she was just really upset and really opened up some really great discussions. But she has landed a position as a regional foreclosure attorney oversight specialist with Freedom Mortgage. She's been pursuing the opportunities with them since October when she was first laid off. She said her practice interviews with the Pit Crew Interview Success Workshop with Walt Glass and all the weekly Zoom sessions offered by Career DFW and the career networking groups were very, very valuable. She wanted to share all the details with you so you could pass along to others that, so they're encouraged to know that the hard work eventually pays off. She gave me a few statistics here. Whoops, let me go back and find them. She said just to get this one job with Freedom Mortgage, it took 8 applications, phone conversations with 3 different recruiters within the company, attendance to one of the virtual career fairs where Freedom Mortgage was one of the companies attending, networking with a former colleague who is now a current employee, 1 informational interview with a recruiter, 1 formal interview with a hiring manager, and 2 formal panel interviews with hiring managers. So, you know, she said in all the emails, and then in addition, all the LinkedIn emails, LinkedIn direct messages to the recruiters, also in addition to all of her activity on LinkedIn, following the company, liking company posts, commenting on companies and employee posts. So, you know, she went on to a lot of detail. So congratulations to Geneva. I know she, you know, worked really hard. She got really down, and I'm just really glad and success for her. Anybody else? Any other landings? Yes, Mark.
I have one. I also announced this on Wednesday, but one of the candidates who practiced on interview Wednesday on February 2nd has now landed that opportunity, and that was Fatima Pittman. And she's going to work for a small 4-attorney law firm called Robbins Travis as a litigation paralegal. Now, the interesting thing about this was she had been a litigation paralegal before and for a 4-person attorney group, but that was 15 years ago. So she pulled upon that experience from 15 years ago, which was still applicable today, even though they may use different tools. And she felt very aligned with their mission statement and their, how they ran their practice. And so congratulations to Fatima.
Very good. Thank you very much, Mark. All right, we will move on to 30-second introductions. What we'd like you to do is please hover your mouse over the bottom of your screen, select the chat window, open up the chat box if you will, and please put in your personal information. What we'd like to see is your name, comma, phone number, comma, email address, comma, position you're looking for, comma, and then 2 or 3 target companies. I will put all this into an email this afternoon, and I will get this out along with the roster and any important details that we need to send out with you today. And please look it over this afternoon, look it over this weekend, and see who you can help on the list. Is there somebody on the list that is looking at a company that you have a contact in? If you can reach out and help somebody. So that's what we'd like you to do right now. For those people watching on Facebook, if you put your personal information in the comment field, I will delete it immediately after this session's over, so it won't be hanging out there forever and ever, but it will allow me to update the roster. So in addition to just putting out your personal information or getting it, on to shared everybody who's with us today, I also use this to update the roster. So if you're counting this as a workforce position or workforce episode, something to count, I do need to know you're with us today. So let's put 30 seconds on the clock. All righty, and you're welcome to continue on as we move on. Just keep putting your information in there. We really appreciate that. All right, it's time to hear about job and career fairs, training and workshops. It looks like we have a few more events than we had last week. So good morning, Eldon.
Yeah, good morning, Jeff. Happy Friday, everybody. And yes, we do have a few more events this week. As Jeff said, I'm going to tell you about this week's upcoming career and job fair events, as well as special workshops. The information that I'm about to convey comes from the calendar tab of the website careerdfw.org, which is currently on your screen. The different colored boxes represent different categories of events that are occurring throughout the DFW area on a weekly, monthly, and perhaps regular ongoing basis. I go through these items fairly quickly, so if you hear something that catches your ear, I urge you to go to that category on the calendar tab, find the particular event, click on that, and you'll find more information either in the calendar itself, or there will be links that will direct you to sites that will provide you with more information. All right, having said that, this week's career and job fairs, the Dallas Sales and Management Career Fair by United Career Fairs will be held Tuesday, February 22nd from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at 4 Points by Sheraton Dallas Fort Worth Airport North. That's located at 1580 Point West Boulevard in Coppell, Texas. You must arrive at 6 p.m. for the start of this event, and for more information and to register, there's a link on the calendar. The Dallas Area Virtual Diversity Job Fair by Catalyst Career Group will be held Wednesday, February 23rd from 10 a.m. to noon, and there is a link on there that you should visit if you desire to attend that. The Spring 2022 Career Fair, sponsored by Collin College, will be held Thursday, February 24th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. This is at the Collin College Plano campus, Living Legends Conference Center and Central Atrium at 2800 East Spring Creek Parkway in Plano. This week
we have well over 100 companies that are going to be there, so you may want to check out, and they have a listing on the website. So
yes, they do.
Yeah, check it out.
All right. This week's special workshops or events, I'm going to mention this briefly, even though it's just about coming to an end, is the third Friday Internet of Things Special Interest Group Breakfast, which is this morning. That's hosted by Ed Hightower. This is an online event right now, but if you're interested in the Internet of Things and activities related to that are going on in the DFW area, I would urge you to participate. And again, that's every third Friday. All right, online, the Employability with a Background seminar will be held Monday, February 21st from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Cross City Church of Euless at 1000 West Airport Freeway in Euless. We ask that attendees call and register in advance, and there's a link to find out more about that on the calendar. Also online, LinkedIn Tuesdays at 1 p.m., Tuesday, February 22nd from 1 to 2:30 p.m. Join Locke Alderson or Terry Sullivan, or Ruth Lipsky or Kurt Vondemutter for an online session on LinkedIn. This week's session is being hosted by Kurt Vondemutter, and there's a Zoom link and a Facebook link to participate in that event. The 4 main areas of your job search to focus on seminar will be held Tuesday, February 22nd from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And there is a Zoom link to participate in that event. I didn't see an announcement for the regular Career Transition Summit, so I don't know if that was just missed, Jeff, or they're.
No, they asked me to take it off the calendar because it is no longer going to be at a set time and date. So it's going to be a floating event. So you just have to, I moved them over to the networking page that list all the different groups down for the Who You Know workshop. But yeah, it's a floating event now and not locked into any certain time or date.
Okay, thank you for sharing that information. This is online, interviewing Wednesdays at 1 p.m., Wednesday, February 23rd from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. This is new for this year. You can now observe the practice interview from the pit crew each Wednesday, and there's a Zoom link to join that activity. Also online, the networking webinar, Thursday, February 24th from 1 p.m. to 2:15 p.m. Join Career DFW and CareerUSA.org on the 2nd and 4th Thursdays from 1 to 2:15 for the networking seminar. They'll have a different speaker each session talking about networking, and there's a Zoom link and a Facebook link to participate. There'll be a workshop on resumes that get you hired on Thursday, February 17th from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. And there's a registration link for that on the calendar. And there's one other event listed, but it's a private event on LinkedIn. And that's it for this week.
Eldon, thank you very, very much. All right, let's see here. If you happen to know somebody who just got laid off, you know somebody who's unemployed, please let them know about Career DFW and Career USA. All the free resources are available for anybody to be able to help them in their job search. All right, it's time to hear about the practice interview team. Good morning, Mark.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. And let me provide a little bit more information about Geneva's interaction with the practice interview team. She practiced once back in mid-January for a position at Fannie Mae, and then she was scheduled to practice on February 10th for this role that she landed at Freedom Mortgage. However, the interview got moved up, and so she wasn't able to practice. And so one of her coaches, one of the interviewers from her first interview with Fannie Mae, Kathy Teeple, gave her a little coaching specific to this opportunity at Freedom Mortgage. But it sounds like, besides the preparation she did for her real interview with the practice interview team, that this was one of her target companies, and she had put a lot of effort into learning about the company, doing informational interviews, interacting with 3 recruiters. And she mentioned this in the open forum a few weeks ago. And my suspicion is that because they kept offering her different job descriptions, as a matter of fact, when she was going to practice, they had substituted just a few days before a new job description for her interview. And so this was all an indication of their efforts to try to find a spot for her. And if you look up Freedom Mortgage, they're a huge company. And so that's what they were doing. I think the recruiting team, the HR team there were quite impressed with her and trying to find a spot for her. And so it took a little bit of time and a lot of interviews, but it all came out really well. So I think her advice is good, persevere, don't be frustrated, and things will come out well in the end. Okay, so there's my introduction. What's the Pit Crew do? Well, we offer a very personalized, customized interview practice experience. And you may know a lot about interviewing, and certainly there's a lot of material. Walt Glass and I have a whole bunch of material that will teach you how to interview, but knowing is not doing. And so the practice interview team experience is a practice interview. So you send in a job description and a resume, and we study up in advance. And then we give you a chance to convince the panelists, the interviewers, that you're the right person for that job. And it may take a little bit of convincing because all of the panelists have been hiring managers in the past. So they've hired people as part of their professional responsibility. And so when the interview's over, they will give you feedback on what you did well and things that you might want to consider a bit differently, and just general feedback on interviewing. And I encourage you to practice early and practice often, because it's probably going to take 4 or 5 practice interviews before you feel really confident in your interviewing skills that you can handle any interview situation. And we're standing by to do that for you. So don't feel like you're using resources beyond what you deserve. Come and practice as often as you like. You can practice for every opportunity. You can practice even if you don't have an opportunity lined up. Just find a job description that looks good to you, like your dream job. It may be somewhere in a country you would never consider living, but that's okay. We're just practicing our interview skills. So send that in and we'll set you up for a practice interview. We hold them. We're getting ready to transition to meeting face-to-face again, which means we'll have practice interviews 1 day a week during our face-to-face meetings. But in the interim, we're having practice interviews 3 days a week. We have them on Tuesday, we have them on Wednesday, and we have them on Thursday. So in the, Tuesday evenings, Wednesday afternoon at 1 o'clock, and Thursday afternoon at 3 o'clock. So when you send in your information, include your first and second time choice. And I have 2 interviews scheduled for next week. And that's okay if we schedule them a week or 2 in advance. That's good too. And of course, remember, it's absolutely free. There's no cost for this. All of the people who provide the interviews are volunteers. Most of them are in job transition, just like you. And they've all been hiring managers, as I mentioned, as part of their professional responsibility. So that's the PIT crew. Send that information to dallaspitcrew@gmail.com. If you're interested in doing a one-way practice interview, the PIT crew also has a very simplified offering there. I give you the questions in advance. I give you a link to the tool. You go interact with the tool records your answers, and then you get a link to the video of your recording afterwards. So you can just assess, how well you did, knowing the questions in advance and just interacting with the tool. So send an email to dallaspitcrew@gmail.com and I'll send you more information how to get involved with that. There's my LinkedIn profile. I encourage you to link in with me. Just include a message that said we met on the North Dallas Career Focus Group. I like to have some affirmation that we actually met someplace, and that it's just not a random person who happened to find me and wants to build their multi-level marketing network. So yeah, include a message and I'll add you to my network. 2 more things. I'm always looking for panelists, and like I mentioned, most of the panelists are in job search just like you, and so they find jobs, and then I need to add someone new to the roster. So if you've been a hiring manager, I'd like to talk to you about volunteer opportunities with the PIT crew. You'll get a lot of satisfaction out of helping people in many small and sometimes very large ways find their next opportunity and shorten their job search. And then finally, there's one other thing I do to help job seekers, and that is I coach on this question: why did you leave your last job? Or why did you leave, why did you have these 3 jobs in 2 years, a couple of years ago? If you're concerned about how you might have to answer some questions about your job history, then let's have a conversation and we'll figure out how to tell that story. We'll figure out how to answer the first question, why did you leave that job? But also any follow-on questions that may come based on your situation. So it takes about an hour. We do it on the phone or we do it on Zoom. And yeah, it'll be very helpful for you if you're wondering how to answer those questions and feel like it might cause some stress. Give me a call or reach out to me at dallaspitcrew@gmail.com. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you very much, Mark. Let's see here. Come on, slides. Here we go. Good morning, Walt.
Well, good morning, everyone. Interviewing is such a fun thing to do, such a fun part of the job search process. We're all excited about them and look forward to them. And you know what? If that's true, that means you've done some work to get to that point. And what have you done? Well, you've done some preparation, you've looked at some content, you've looked at practicing. Perhaps you've even practiced doing the video interview, taking advantage of what Mark offers and what I also offer. I offer the Interview Success Workshop, and this is a very informal interviewing practice session. It's really a learning session more. It's not a mock interview at all. Yes, you'll get to answer questions, and we cover the 12 basic categories of questions. We look at the options, the strategies, the structures. How can we really sell ourselves? Now, when I was, after working 25 years, and I went through all the gyrations of getting in to see the hiring manager, networking, and all that sort of thing, he only asked me one question. He says, well, Walter, what can you do for me? And the interview went downhill from there. I mean, it was pretty bad. So I walked out saying that's not going to ever happen again. And so I started doing a lot of thinking and diving into interviewing and just what is it that we can do in an interview. And I came up with 3 things that people are hiring us. They're hiring us for who we are, our personality, our soft skills, our characteristics, what we do, our certifications, our knowledge, our skills, the activities that we can do, and how we can help them. What's the value that we bring? Now, if you stop and think about it, companies really just don't hire a project manager to project manage. That's just what they do. They hire for the results of what project managers can do for that company, for that department, for that area. So when I'm looking at people doing their interview sessions, I very rarely hear anything about how they can help the company. So for example, if you're asked what your strengths are and you say, well, I'm accountable and I'm responsible. But if we were to add the value of that and say with accountability and responsibility, you can rely on me. In other words, the value of the strength. So that's just an example of what we talk about in the workshop, how we can add value, how we can sell ourselves so that we can find a match. And I call a successful interview one where you have successfully presented who you are, what you do, and how you can help them. Of course, it's up to them to choose. But when you've done that, you've done all you can do. That's your job. Have you done it with interest and enthusiasm? That would be good. Takes a little work and practice to get to that level of interest and enthusiasm. Look me up on LinkedIn, on Walk Glass. There's a Yahoo email address. Gee, Mark, your webpage looks a lot like mine. Or my webpage looks like yours, I guess the other way around. I use that Yahoo email address just for the workshop. You should send me an email because you have to be registered to attend. Now, it doesn't cost anything. It's free. So send me that email. I'll give you some dates that are available. I generally hold them on Tuesdays from 9 to 11 Central, but I'll also schedule others as others are more, as there's more people interested in the workshop. Once you decide to do one of these things, generally you don't want to wait very long to get it done. I would enjoy having you come down and learn. We can have some fun, we can smile, or we can just focus on learning and helping one another. And I call it learning without squirming. Interviews display our attitude. It's got significant influence on how we are viewed. With enthusiasm and interest, a job can ensue. Others have done it, and you can too.
Thank you very, very much, Walt. All right, it's time to hear the career tip of the week. You can check out a new career tip of the week on the Career DFW or Career USA YouTube channels or the Career USA websites. There's a new tip every week. So good morning, Liz.
Well, good morning, Jeff, and good morning, everyone. We've got another good tip of the week. So the current tip of the week is Career Planning in the Age of Uncertainty by Julie Winkle Giulioni. Another extraordinary year recently came to a close, and by all indications, we may be in for another one. Continued COVID-19 concerns, supply chain woes, shallow labor pools for deep talent needs, disruptive technology, unusual climate changes, geopolitical concerns, it all points to another year or perhaps future in which uncertainty is the only certain thing we can count on. While many employees have joined the great resignation, others have stayed, waiting for turbulence to pass, the confusion to clear, and predictability to return. But even in the most steady and steadfast among us are coming to the conclusion that it's time to take a clear-eyed look at what career means in today's wacky workplace and how to move forward to create the experience of growth, engagement, and satisfaction they desire despite the uncertainty. Career outcomes used to be clear and defined. We created plans that led to new titles, positions, moves, and promotions. But in today's most volatile and less hierarchical organizations, this may not be as certain as it once was. Those steps up are looking less desirable as too many. Climbing today's corporate ladder comes with a lot more challenges, stress, hours, and risk, frequently without the compensation that compensates for it. That's why many ambitious and befuddled professionals are asking, without the traditional outcomes, a targeted next role, prescribed pathways, or promotions, what does career development look like today? When conditions change before the ink is even dry, how can we make plans for a relevant and meaningful career? The answer may rest upon something less tangible, but more powerful than the traditional outcome or trappings of career development, our intentions, motivations, and vision for our work. So as you begin your 2022 planning, consider these 3 intentions that will help you use the uncertainty to thrive. Number 1, find ways to add value. The challenges and sheer complexity facing most organizations right now create an environment in which opportunities to add values are ubiquitous. And the simple intention to do so can trigger a range of developmental and career supporting outcomes. You'll enhance your strategic mindset as you learn to discern where and how to add value. You'll gain a keener understanding of the organization's priorities and customer needs. You'll discover the levers that address problems, streamline processes, and enhance satisfaction. And you'll likely expand your network. And you'll distinguish yourself, building a reputation as a difference maker, while likely experiencing greater meaning in your work. Number 2, double down on human skills. With so much talk about digital transformation, automation, and artificial intelligence, it's easy to be lulled into believing that future-proofing one's career means tying oneself to technology. And while that's the answer for some, for others, the key is to focus on what differentiates us from machines, and that's human skills. Communication, empathy, collaborating, team building, influencing. These are just a few of the high impact skills that will be necessary and valued no matter what the future brings. And setting the intention to invest in developing them today will create opportunities tomorrow. Number 3, focus on what you want to do versus what you want to be. There are no guarantees in organizations today. There haven't been for some time. And you can check all the right boxes and do all the right things, yet that next big break or promotion may still not come along. So instead of focusing on what you want to be, the role, title, or position, turn your attention toward what you want to do. What job can your job do for you rather than the other way around? Maybe you want to better align work with your values, or build your network and feel more connected, or test your capacity with next level challenges, or take on greater responsibility, or build your confidence. You don't have to wait to assume another role to make these things happen. You just need to set the intention to discover and take action on what you really want to do, and then watch the growth and opportunities follow. Uncertainty is synonymous with today's business environment, but clear intentions can offer the sense of grounded stability we need despite swirling conditions and unpredictable outcomes. How will you develop your career in 2022? What's your intention? Good luck, everyone, and have a good rest of your day.
Liz, thank you very, very much. All right, if you'd like to join us for lunch today, I've decided we're gonna go ahead and try to meet back in person if you'd like to. We're gonna go to Mama's Pizza today. It's at 2130 West Parker. It's on Parker, about a half block west from Custer. They have pizza, pasta, salad, and the hot cinnamon rolls tends to be the draw for a lot of people, especially everybody keeps their eye for when they bring out a new tray of hot ones, and it's a rush to go get a hot one off the thing. So Mama's Pizza today, it is a pizza buffet, and they have a nice salad bar also. welcome to come join us today at 12:30. All right, coming up in just a couple minutes, Clifton Strengths and Core Clarity with PJ Dunn. I want to talk about upcoming sessions next Friday. Elizabeth Lyons will be back with us to talk about how to vet a company. This was a topic when she was with us a month ago when she was sharing what she was seeing in 2022. And this sort of became the hot topic, I think, of, what kinds of questions should you ask? How do you vet a company? How do you really make that decision? And so she'll be with us to talk about that next Friday morning. The first Friday in March, as we do the first Friday of every month, we will do open forum. We will talk about whatever questions you have about your job search. And then on March 11th, why your emotional intelligence matters in today's new world with Jane Ryan. So many of you know Jane. She's been on with Frisco Connect. She's a friend of Foster's, and so she'll be with us to talk about why your EI makes a difference. So please join us for our upcoming sessions. So our topic today is about Clifton Strengths, which used to be called Core Clarity, used to be called Strengthsfinders, and then Core Clarity is a separate piece that attaches with Clifton Strengths and how you really apply it. So our speaker today is PJ Dunn. He's a leadership coach, professional development coach. He's been a great friend of our group. He's been helping us out for many, many years talking about Clifton Strengths. And so PJ, thank you for being with us. And I will turn it over to you.
All right. Well, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Let me get my bearings here and get everything all shared up and ready to go for you this morning so we can have this discussion. It is important how you explain what it is that you do or bring to the table. And those who cannot explain what they do well actually are not an asset. They become a liability. So what I love about Clifton Strengths, and then we'll also talk about how Core Clarity dovetails into it, is that this gives us a language to explain what we do and basically tell people how we can do it, how we can make things great for the company. And so there's many things that we need to look at today. And I would say the first thing is I just want everyone to know, everybody here, and maybe not on the call at all, everybody has talents. And some of you have polished some of those talents into strengths. And so we're going to talk about that too, because there's a difference between a talent and a strength. And so let me make sure that I have got my clicker here and it's ready to move with me and all that good stuff, and we're ready to go. So let's dive in. So as you know, there's tons of questions that you're asking yourself throughout your whole life.
Your presentation is not in presentation mode. We're just seeing your PowerPoint slides.
Okay.
It's not displaying.
I see what you're saying. Let's go back. And we can escape out of that. And you go back. And this. And then we'll go ahead and share here.
Yeah, while you're doing that, PJ, just let me say we're really blessed to have you, because to borrow from a 40-year-ago slogan, when PJ Dunn talks, people listen.
Is that the same issue, isn't it?
Same, yeah, just hit F5, I think. If you hit F5, will that get it going?
Oh, we can try it. We can definitely try it. I guess we need some more words of wisdom from from Walt. Walt knows a couple of things too. You said some things about interviewing that I found very interesting. You talked about how you explain who you are and what you bring, and not just trying to tell people something that you just know to do because somebody's coached you to say it a certain way. Let's see if this is better. Okay, I apologize to everyone real quick. Usually don't. This is what, instead of it's an equipment malfunction, I guess. Let's see here. Is that it? No.
Well, we're just seeing the same thing. It doesn't look like, I mean, we see you clicked on from beginning, but it's not popping up from the beginning for us. So.
Okay. How about now?
Same thing. That's okay.
Wow,
Just,
you could just
that's
tell this
fine.
is
Leave it like this and we'll
kinda
just,
crazy.
the slide just won't be full screen. That's fine.
All right. Well, that's amazing. Strictly amazing. Okay. Well, we'll go back to it. So here's the idea. We're looking at how can we explain what it is that we do well. A lot of times when we talk about people looking at their resumes, then when they're looking at their resumes, this just gives us data. It tells us where you work, how long you work there, and then you may have told people what exactly it was that you did while you were there. And what's interesting to note about all of that is, well, if you can't sell the idea that this is how I help you and this is how I can help the company, then is it that compelling? And I think this is what Walt talks about when he's talking about getting involved in the interview process. So with this language, with Clifton Strengths, we can try to at least mention, these are the things that I do well. And it's not my opinion that I do these things well. This is 50 years of behavioral science that says, once I took this assessment, this is how I grade it out. And that's important because how you grade out is a metrics. And we love metrics. We love metrics as a CEO because that gives us a chance to help us project and see how we might go further. I am trying to get this. So you're just able to just see the first slide. Is that it, Jeff?
Well, we see whatever you click on. So if you click on the second slide, we see the second slide. If we see the third slide, I mean, we just see your PowerPoint presentation as you would build it or whatever. Yes, we see the second slide there.
Okay. Okay. So let me move then to that. And again, I apologize for how this may be framed up or look if it's maybe too small. So the questions that people are usually asking themselves, they want to know, who am I? Why do I do what I do? Why does it seem that people are really good at certain things and I'm not? Am I greater at certain things? And if I'm not, how do I level up? How do I get to that level where I'm just as good at, say, being someone who's analytical, or how can I be someone who's really good at empathy, which is important if you're going to lead people. These are all things that you need to have. And so I like quotes. So one of the quotes that I'd like to go with today is one from Ralph Waldo Emerson, where he's saying, and this is what's great to me, is that it's not what lies before us or what lies behind us that's important. It's actually what lies within us. And so again, if we can tell people, especially on the interview process, what it is that makes us come alive, what enthuses us, what we're excited about. And at the same time, hey, I'm not as good at this, but what I've learned in the meantime is that whenever I'm in this particular situation and I know there's someone who is better at this than I am, I'm able to delegate and not feel any loss of power or feeling vulnerable somehow as being a weakness, right? And so when you're able to show up as a complete person, meaning you know your strengths and you also know the areas where you're not as strong at. So as we've learned early on, one of the more toxic things that can happen in any company is when the boss or maybe some of the people that work there think they're good at everything. No one is good at everything. Okay, Bill Gates is not good at everything, though he's a billionaire, right? There's some limitations. And so this is what's great. This actually shows us why we need each other, because some of the folks that are really strategic need to be there with the people who are very, very emotionally intelligent. Imagine putting a strategy guy with someone who's emotionally intelligent together. They can strategize about how to be or how to build a culture that works where people don't want to just quit as soon as they get a chance, right? We've learned from talking to recruiters that the number one reason why people quit a job isn't because of the pay, it's because of the boss. And number two, they'll leave if they don't have any friends at the office, because who's going to put up with a bad boss if you don't have any friends at work either that can help you make the day go better, right? That's that water cooler talk. So it's important to understand what environment am I in so you get the job, but let's say the boss is not as adept at this. You're going to need to know how to wrangle that so that you don't get pulled into things that are going to just suck the energy out of you and maybe make you leave a job that actually you're designed for, but the culture there is kind of toxic and that could be a problem. So with Clifton Strengths, here's what this is, because there's a lot of assessments out there and a lot of people assume that they're all the same. They are not. So with Clifton Strengths, it's designed, as that quote was stated, to help us understand what it is that lies within us. And then hopefully we have that language to then articulate, what you see there at the bottom. It's language that's vivid because you're talking about what you do well, not what you think or what someone else told you you're good at, but that you know it's true in your bones because it's just something that you do. This assessment is not designed to tell you that, hey, based off these 5 strengths, you should be a doctor, you should be a lawyer, you should be a housewife, you should be a janitor. Because imagine if you took those jobs on and you didn't like them and you hated them. And now you're going to say, well, but this is the only thing I can do. No, Clifton Strengths is not trying to tell you what you should do. It does tell you how you will do anything. Because the top 5 strengths are the strengths that you pull from the most. And we'll talk more about that hierarchy. There's 34 of them, and then we'll talk about that hierarchy as well. And it's also designed to understand what's great about you, not to sit back and just focus on the things that are wrong. What we've figured out is that a lot of people, once they figure out if they start working on what's wrong with them, now again, if it's something like being annoying, you probably want to fix that because nobody wants to be good at being annoying. But people that tend to fix or try to fix everything that's wrong with them to the exclusion of polishing what's right with them because they think they've hit a top, then they find themselves looking at the negative more than they do the positive. And so Dr. Clifton is one of those guys that's carrying the banner for positive-based psychology, not negative psychology that's telling you, here's what's wrong with you, here's the things you need to fix, which most people don't get the energy to go fix it because they feel like, well, this is just who I am. And then this creates a whole other set of problems that we don't want. So instead, we look at it from, hey, I do this well, and here's how I've used it. And this is a situation that benefited because this is the strength I used. By the way, when you're at a company and you're using your strengths, that's a company that doesn't have you on the internet looking at Indeed for another job. When you feel like you're contributing, then you want to stay 9 times out of 10 if everything else is lined up in terms of the culture and then the pay, right? So this is super important and very key fact to try to understand about how we exist even in a culture. And then finally, I would say that this is not designed to be a personality test because it's not a personality test. DISC studies behavior. It says you're either a dominator, an influencer, you're steady, or you're compliant. That's about behavior. Myers-Briggs is about personality. It says it's the 16 personalities. Clifton Strengths looks at thought, feelings, and behavior, looks at all of it, mainly because behaviors can change, personalities can change over time. So what's the character trait? What's the one thing that when you come to the office, we can pretty much guarantee, yeah, he's coming with his focus. He's always been focused. Or I know she's coming with her empathy, or I know she's coming with her strategic, because that's just who she is, right? So we're looking at it more from a character trait perspective, not just personality and not just behavior, but a collection of all of them. And that's why I find it extremely compelling. And I like the other assessments, but usually when someone gives me their top 5 and we go through it, they go, wow, it's like you're reading my mail or something. So let's continue. Organizations. So that we talked about it individually, but look at organizations. It's 200 out of the Fortune 500 that are using this particular assessment, Clifton Strengths, to understand how to hire people. In fact, Facebook hires people based off of their talents and then turns around and says, here are the jobs that we have open that we think you'd go into, which is completely mind-blowing. But it's something that Facebook would do. So the 34 talent themes, if you've taken this assessment, you've probably gotten your top 5. Maybe you spent a little extra and got the full 34, but here they are. And notice these are talent themes. What are the talent themes? The themes are there to help describe how that talent shows up. Now, the talents don't work by themselves, they work together. So when they work together, if you're an achiever with relator, you're going to achieve a lot of things and relationships matter. But if you're an achiever and you're a consistency person, that's more about the process and how you stay fair and how you stay on track. So even though you can both have achiever number 1, the other themes beneath it can tell you probably where you aim that particular talent. So I love this. So if you look at the top column at the top, you see relator at the top. Sometimes people go, hey, what's realtor doing up there? And I go, oh, thank you, my dyslexic friend. You just let me know who in the room is our special friends, and we will talk to you on that because it's okay. All right, we're all welcome. You'll see at the bottom of that 4th column, you'll see something called woo, W-O-O, win others over. It doesn't mean woohoo. It means that these people, when they walk in a room, they're not nervous. They like people. They can kick a conversation up like that. And you know some people like that, and you may be like that as well. But as you see, here they are, alphabeticalized, the 34 talent themes, not strengths, talent themes. They're not strengths until they're polished. But with that, I think we might need to talk some more about what are these terms that I'm using. Now, because we are mostly folks here doing this as a ministry, I wanted to include what the Bible has to say about these talents and strengths. And so if you look at Ephesians 2:10, what you'll see is that the writer here is saying, Paul's saying, we are God's workmanship, created for good works in Jesus Christ, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. So you don't need to be everything to all people. You need to be that best version of you that you already are, because God already put these talents inside of you. So think about that for a moment. An omnipotent God, right? All power says, I'm going to give them strengths. Because when you're all powerful, you're not worried about people coming back against you, using their strengths against you. God lavished in this. So we all of us have talents, and we're somewhere in that paradigm of polishing, getting them better. And if not, I want to encourage you to do that before we're done. So what is a talent? This talent, the way we're defining it here with Gallup, is this is a naturally reoccurring pattern of thought, feeling, and behavior that can be productively applied. So if you're good at being argumentative, that's not a talent. If you're turning more people off than you are turning people on, I wouldn't say that was being productively applied. So think about that. It's natural, it's reoccurring, and it shows up either in your thought life, your feeling life, which is the emotions, or behavior, which is your actions. Right? That's a talent. And talents can be raw or refined. We'll talk more about that. How are we defining strength? Now check this out. I find this completely compelling. This is near perfect performance while doing an activity that oftentimes you're not even thinking about it. You just do it. It's like the first time someone picked up a football and threw a perfect spiral. The first time somebody sat down and drew something and it was just magnificent. It's just the capability that we as human beings can have near perfect performances should be wonderful. So if you're out there looking for work and it's been a couple of months, don't forget, just because you don't have a job does not mean you don't have talents. Question is, where are you at polishing them? Where are you at in that stage of making sure it's getting the best, right, out of that, so that can become the strength. So if we talk about the strength, then we also have to talk about weakness. And again, these are just behaviors, and sometimes they're your strengths, that get in the way of prime performance or ability. I want you to think about that. Prime performance, right? Near perfect performance. When we said strength, here, you are capable of prime performance. Not having a job right now does not mean you're not capable. It just means maybe we got to tell the story a little bit differently. Maybe we need to articulate the value we bring a little better. So for example, a lot of times people will say, oh, I'm a people person. What does that mean exactly? Oh, I'm a critical thinker about processes, about people, about events. I mean, these are vacuous terms. But see, when you have the Clifton strengths and you understand that saying a people person might be talking about your empathy talent, because empathy people are people. So being able to say that, hey, I love engaging in people and understanding where they come from. I enjoy the engagement with my fellow peers and just people in general. That's a lot better than saying, oh yeah, I'm a people person, right? Which again, they can take that to go wherever they want that to go, right? So this language now is here that you get to use. If you've taken the assessment, you know some of this. If not, I can talk to you about it. And if not, and if you haven't taken the assessment, then I would go take it. I'd go to Clifton Strengths, just Google it, and then you can take the assessment, and then you'll start to get your feedback back, right? And then you'll get a better chance to know. And so when you're on this interview, which is important, I don't want to waste time with fluff and say things that aren't necessary. On the interview, I want to know what kind of problem are they trying to solve, and then I'm going to show them how my strengths speaks right into the issue that the interviewer is trying to solve, right? So here's what's great about turning talents into strengths. Here's the equation that you can see here, hopefully. It says if you take talent, which we agree everyone has, and if you add knowledge, skill, practice, which you could say is use, you will get a strength. Now, what's great about this is this doesn't say you have to be Black or white. It doesn't say you have to be male or female. It doesn't say you have to be a native speaker or not, able-bodied or disabled, believer or non-believer. It doesn't have anything to do with any of those boxes that we find ourselves running into and checking today. This is freeing. This is liberation. So if I take a talent, everybody has it. Knowledge can be gained, right? You're here today to get some knowledge. So yes, knowledge can be gained. Skills can be taught, correct? Yes, they can. Every job has a certain skill set. That's what they're looking for. So where are you in evolving your skill set? Oh, and by the way, just a spoiler alert, You're not a title. You're an evolving skill set that's saying, what else can I do next? That's who you are, okay? And then practice, well, why does that sports person make it look so easy? The Winter Olympics are on, when they get out there and they're skating, they make it look so great on that ice. They make it look effortless. It's because of practice. They have knowledge, they have skill, and they practice until now 2 people can skate and spin around at the same time, and I'm still getting dizzy. Going, wow, how'd they do that? How'd they do that, right? This is it. This is what they've done. So these talents, how do they grow? They grow in investment in the areas of relationship, proper expectations and reward and recognition. So relationship, you need to be around other people who are also discovering their talents, because then you can encourage each other. That's awesome when you can tell someone, you know what, I really appreciate your strategic, the way your mind is so analytical, the way your mind, or they say, you know, I really appreciate how you approach people, your empathy, your includer, your relator, right? When you're around other people who are also discovering, something wonderful, almost magical happens when you're around that. The other thing is proper expectations. Don't say, well, I'm going to polish up this strength to get out there and work out, and I'm going to join the Cowboys. Well, no, you're not going to make the Dallas Cowboys in 53 years if you never played college ball or regular football. That's just silly. But some people put those kind of expectations on themselves. So we want real expectations that can be attainable, not so low, but at the same time, not so ridiculous that people can look at it and go, wow, okay. And then, of course, understand how the brain works. So the neuroscience here is that whenever something seems rewarding to us, that's what we go back to. So if you find movies exciting, go watch a lot of movies. If you find wine exciting, go drink a lot of wine. If you find conversations rewarding, you will go find other conversationalists and you will sit down and you'll talk. The things that you step away from and the things you don't find rewarding, right? So just think of it in those terms. When talents are raw, notice they're just messy. They're uninformed, they're self-centered and unproductive. So this is somebody who, let's just say they figure out that they're a positivity person, and now they overblow the positivity where someone's trying to talk at a funeral about a grief. But because this person's positive, they don't want to talk about grief because that sounds like everybody's down. So let's get up, everybody, come on, woohoo. So you can see that nobody likes a cheerleader at a funeral if they're grieving over something at that moment. Grief is good. We have to go through certain moments of grief. Even Jesus grieved, and that's the shortest verse in the Bible, right? Refine, what does it look like when it's refined? Well, instead of charging out there and just putting your talent on somebody and just showing, hey, I'm doing this because I'm a strategic. Instead, you're wondering, you're looking at, hey, how are people engaging here? Oh, they don't like the high energy thing. They like the regular tone. Or no, these people need somebody who speaks up a little bit. All right, let me bring that. So when it's refined, you're not just looking at yourself swinging a talent around till you bludgeon somebody with your command. It's about you saying, huh, so people here like this. Okay, well, here's how I'm going to approach. So every talent can be raw and every talent can be refined. And that's that part of making it into a strength. All right, so let's keep going. Another Bible verse, I love this as well. Dr. Clifton looked at this as well. It's Psalm 139:14. He says, I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, and my soul knows it very well. That's beautiful writing. My soul knows it very well, that wonderful are your works, and I'm one of your workmanship. So how unique are we? We know God's very unique. So find somebody with the same top 5 talents in the same top 5, same order that you have them in. You'd have to meet 33.4 million people first before you would run into that type of situation. I've been doing this now for 15 years, still haven't run into anyone with the same top 5. We've had a few, but they weren't in the same order, and they were close, but not quite. To find someone with the same top 10, the way the math works out is you'd have to meet 447 trillion people. Spoiler alert, there's only 7 billion people on the face of the earth. That's how unique, just to find someone with the same top 10 in the same order in the top 10. And then to find someone with the same 34, we don't even have a word for it. It is simply 295 plus 36 zeros. There's a lot of commas in there. That's how unique. So you are made to do something really, really well. You have some talents already innate that if you polish, use that framework, you will make it into a strength. All right, I want to get past this. And so here are the domains. There's 4 domains of behavior. It's connecting, thinking, influencing, executing. And you'll notice at the top, you'll notice I have the core clarity. This is where we bring in core clarity. So Clifton Strengths came up with the talents. And core clarity was a group of enthusiasts that said, I love this idea. The difference is that they put some of the talents in a different quadrant, but for the most part, they're there. I would say that there's only 12 that they have in a different quadrant. So what am I meaning by these quadrants? Well, when you look at the first one, blue, connecting, these are the people, right? So you see those talents there. Communication, empathy, harmony, if you're looking at core clarity. But if you look at, say, for example, Clifton, which is on the bottom, you'll see that adaptability is also used to connect, even though adaptability shows up in executing at the top for core clarity. So why? Why would they put something in different quadrants? Don't they mean the same thing? Well, this comes down to that it's not either or on some of the talents. Sometimes it's a both and. Let's take responsibility. So you see that core clarity has it in the connecting, the first quadrant, the blue quadrant, responsibility. Why? Because you're responsible to someone for something else when you take on a certain task. So there's a relational component. You don't want to let them down. However, responsibility also is an executing talent. If you look at the core, if you look at the Clifton Strengths, the fourth quadrant, it's the purple one at the bottom, because if you're a responsible person, you're probably getting a lot done because of the responsibility. So here's responsibility. It can have a relational component, which looks like connecting, but it also can have an executing component because that's what you see. So how do I understand the two, core clarity and Clifton Strengths? Core clarity is looking at it from the perspective of, well, internally, responsibility, it's an internal situation, where Clifton Strengths looking at it from an external. From an external, you can't tell it's responsibility drop, it just looks like execution, right? But internally, we know why that person is doing all these things that makes them look responsibility, because they don't want to let their mom down. They don't want to let their dad down. They don't want to let their boss down. They don't want to let the person down who they talked to, who they said, I will do this. So just 12 of those are ambidextrous that could fit in one or more categories, and I wouldn't fight you over it. So the main thing about these quadrants is the true blues, the connect people, they are the people. The green quadrant there, you see, they both agree. And the green is the color for thinking. I guess green with envy. People are always envious of the people who are really smart because they go, man, I wish I would have thought of that. If that helps you link those together. So thinkers are the people who are necessarily quiet. They're paying attention. They're taking in data. Usually the conversation is happening inside the head. With the connected people, conversations happening outside the mind because they're connecting, right? But both are connecting. They're just doing it this way. And you notice the influencing here, they swapped colors here for purple and orange. So don't let that confuse you too much. Influencing is colored purple, and you see the talents there, and influencing is orange when you look at it from the Clifton Strengths perspective. And then they, like I said, they just flip-flopped. I wonder if it was more of a copyright thing. They couldn't have it too exact, so they shifted it just a tad, whatever a tad is, right? So we can also discuss what the tad, right? So basically, you're connecting, you're thinking, you're influencing, or you're executing. And some of you are a mixture of both. Some of your talents in your top 5 are going to be in the blue, green, or the purple, or the orange. Some of you might say, dang, I have all blue and green talents, but no purple and orange. Does that mean I can't influence and I can't execute? No, what this means is whatever's in your top 5, out of the 34, because you have all 34, we all have the 34, it just means what's in your top 5 is what you lead with. It's what you lead with the most. So for example, I have empathy number 17. I don't lead with empathy. Yet when people talk to me, they say, man, I feel like I could talk to you about anything. Well, they're probably seeing a combination of 2 other talents. In this case, it would be my woo and my communication. Because if I want to win you over, I need to listen to you. I need to know what wins you over, right? So sometimes 2 talents put together look like another talent, which is why it's hard to just read somebody right off the jump, right? Because the talents, putting them together can create some different sets. Let's keep moving here. Core clarity, they came out with this core clarity key. So not only did they take the quadrants, not only did they name them, but they also went to the direction of saying this: the talents that are mostly blue and purple have to do with externalness because you need people to do them. The talents that have to do with thinking and energizing or just executing are internal talents because you don't need people to think, or for some people, they don't need people to get going. They have focus and discipline, so they don't need other person's motivation. You'll also notice that to the left-hand side, you'll see that the talents that would be in the blue and the green are interaction talents. I'm either interacting with others, connect, or I'm interacting with myself, reflect. And then on that right side, it's about motivation. I'm either motivating others, I'm influencing them, or I'm motivated myself. execution. So that's where they fall into agreements. And like I said, the only thing that they would differ on is where you might put a certain talent, because some of the talents are kind of both and, more so than they are just either or. All right, so let's keep going there. So talents, they can work for you or they can work against you. Have you ever heard that your greatest strength is also your greatest weakness? Yeah, if it's overserved, that can happen. Can you imagine somebody who has the talent of command, per se? If you have the talent of command and you're commanding people at the office all day long, and then you come home and you try to command your wife and kids, they're not going to play that. They're not going to be, honey, you're not at work anymore. Relax. But see, a command person is just doing what a command person does. They organize chaos whenever they see it. They step into the room and they'll influence the room because they'll see what's going wrong and they'll try to bring some order to it. That's a good thing. But can you imagine someone living in that 100% of the time, all the time? Right? And we're going to talk about that as well. So imagine this cup here, right? The talent is the coffee, and the other person experiencing you when it's overserved is the cup. That cup is way past capacity. It cannot handle any more of that hot coffee. And now what's about to happen is it's about to make a complete mess. So you want to understand that when your talents are being overserved, overdriven at the moment, or maybe they could be underserving at the moment, this can create an issue, but we want to be aware. We want to be aware. How do we stay aware? Look at the people that you're talking to. If they're bristling while you talk, if they can't even make eye contact when you talk, maybe your command is up a little loud. Maybe it's turned way up. So how do we go against this? Something called the dimmer switch theory. Let me show you that now. All right. So when it comes to the dimmer switch, we're saying that we need the light in the room. We just don't need it that bright. Or we don't need it that dull. We need to turn it up, right? Because we can't ask you not to be a command person if that's your number one strength. But you do need to look at three things, right? There's three things that you should always, always, always read in context. You should read books in context. You should read people in context. And you should also read situations in context, right? So you don't want to come in over commanding to people who are saying, no, we don't need command right now. What we need is some empathy right now for what's happened. A lot of bad bosses, when they have command, what they'll do is they'll overdrive that command and then they beat down the people, and then the people just don't want to tell them because they figure, well, it ain't going to work. He won't listen to me anyway. So then he thinks, I'm a great manager. No one ever complains about anything that's going on. No, they just are conflict avoidant, and you haven't learned how to read situations or people yet, right? You may have understood how to read books in context, but people are also just as interesting and just in depth as books can be, and so can situations, right? That's why we don't want to watch a portion of the video. We want to watch the whole video, what happened before the incident, right? We're just built that way. So this is good. And by the way, I definitely want to get some questions here from you guys as well. So just know if you're waiting, I can't see the chat room right now, but if you do have some questions, I am definitely going to address them. I'm going to try to get through this so we can have a dialogue, because I like the dialogue as much as I like to kind of show my pretty slides, if that's the case. So you've taken the assessment. What now what? Now, some people think that this is where you stop. They walk around and they actually tell me, yeah, PJ, I found out that I'm a Aquaman, something. I'm activator, I think. I think I'm activator. And it's like, well, you just told me right now that you can't recall your strengths, that you're not really trying to polish them. If you're not polishing them, then you just have knowledge. Remember, it takes knowledge, skill, practice to become a strength. So I'm going to challenge you as a coach would. I'm going to challenge you. If you don't know what your top 5 is and you've taken that assessment, why don't you? Right? So I'm going to hold you to that. So you got to have a rhyme nowadays to make things great. So here's the rhyme, right? So the first rhyme is assess. You need to assess your talents. Are they working for you? Are they working against you? Do you even know what that talent is when you tend to be short or curt with people? What is that coming from? Is that coming from focus and you feel like you're being knocked off focus when a person's talking? But we need to know this. The second thing is finesse. We want to be able to aim these talents because they can be great for us if we know when to use that command, when to use that empathy, when to use that maximizer, right? So the job here is let's finesse these talents so that we can aim them. When you aim your talents, this means mastery. And by the way, I'm sure Walt and Mark and everyone will tell you, people that have a mastery of things get paid better and they get hired. People want to see, what have you mastered? What are you bringing to the table? How are you an asset? How are you valuable? And if you can articulate that and show them exactly how you step into the situation, then now it's going to come down to, okay, well, who else is out there that is also good at explaining this or did a good job? And now it's going to come down to, who they thought was likable, which, by the way, don't frown. Please don't frown on job interviews, because they're going to read that as this is probably something about this person. And the last one is a test. So it's a kind of a cheat, but it kind of sounds like it, right? So one of the great things is once you found your strengths and once you're polishing your strengths, here's what I love. Tell other people about theirs when you see them. When they exhibit some kind of strength, help them see what makes them great. And by the way, every leader, that's what you should be doing. If you're a community leader, that's what you do. Leaders don't lead because people follow. Leaders lead because they find other leaders in the process and help them get what they need, because at one point you were a leader who needed to get something too. So make sure you have that mindset of giving. Okay, and we're getting there. So by the numbers for my statistics, folks, if you want to know, this is what we've compiled here at Gallup. Gallup Group is what owns the Clifton Strengths. Clifton Strengths bought the Gallup Corporation. So here's what we know from a number of perspective. The people who do focus on utilizing their strengths every day, they're 3 times likely to tell us that they have an excellent quality of life. 3 times more likely to tell us that. Now, how important is that after 2020 and after the Great Resignation, when people are frustrated, angry, mad, social unrest, you name it? But see, the people who are working in their strengths and have a job that's helping them to use their strengths every day, they're less likely to succumb to the anger and the frustration and the vitriol, because they know who they are and they know how they can apply it, right? Those same people are 6 times more likely to be engaged in their job. Now, this is a no-brainer, because if the job requires me to use natural talents and giftings that I already have, that's fun, because I'm getting to do something that I'm already doing, and I'm getting to find out, here's the thing, how great can I really be? Here's another reason why I like strengths. There's no cap on any of your strengths. I don't know how great any of you can be. I don't know. There's no cap for it. So push, polish, and perfect it, because again, there's no bounds to it. I don't know how great you can be, and we need some more people out there. It shouldn't just be Jordan. It shouldn't just be Tom Brady. It shouldn't just be Bill Gates that are succeeding in their particular industries well. There should be more people doing that. I bet you if you look at those people, Brady and more, you'll see that they know what they're good at, and they polish it, polish it, polish it. They're not trying to be great at everything. They know what they're good at, and they're just polishing that thing till it becomes a shiny diamond, right? So we also know this, that people who do use their strengths every day, they're 7.8% greater in terms of productivity is what their managers tell us. And we also understand that when we show back up to give the strengths feedback, usually those teams have an 8.9% greater profitability rate for their particular sections that they're in. Again, happy people do wonderful work. Depressed people do just enough to get by. And then they're worried about showing up tomorrow and doing it again and again and again. But see, people who are enthused, people who are happy, people who have that joy, I know exactly what I bring to the table. I have a pretty good idea how I'll fix it. And if I don't, I know who I need to talk to who's better than that and me. And it's not a negative. I just see that they have a strength that I don't have, which is great, because now we can collab and fix it. Okay? So let's try to do this. I want to do this as a bit of an exercise. How much time do we have here, Jeff? I want to make sure.
We've got a good 20 minutes.
Perfect. Perfect. That's what I like to hear for some time. So here's what I'd like to do. Let's take some of these talents. We'll do this first one together, and then I will ask you to give me this kind of response to the next couple of talents. So for the first one, it is focus. So when you see focus, you might ask, what's great about the talent of focus? And if you have focus, type a 1 in the chat if you like. What's great about focus is these folks are not easily distracted. If you need something that positively, absolutely has to get done, hand it to a focused person. Why? Because they avoid distractions very well. Now, what might be not so great about a focused person? Well, because they are so focused, they could be caught up in some tunnel vision and miss ancillary things or things going on around them, which could be important, especially to a team that's trying to build a culture. But if you look like you're standoffish and all you want to do is work but not talk to anyone, that's going to be a problem. So then if that's true about focus, what might be the offset? The offset might be that, hey, for the focused person, they need to purposely put breaks in their day so they can get up and go speak to people. Just say hi, not not just come in, ignore everybody, to sit on the desk because you're so focused on how much work you've got to get done and there's so much work, right? That's one way a focused person can blend in better. That's that emotional intelligence that we're going to hear about in a couple of weeks, next month, and that sort of thing. So that's focus. Now, let's do responsibility. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask the question, and anybody feel free to unmute yourself and tell us. And if you have responsibility, I want to hear it even more. That's even better, right? So responsibility, anyone, tell me what's great about responsibility. Unmute yourself. Let me hear it.
Highly accountable.
Yes, love that. Who was that?
Rusty.
Okay, Rusty, thank you. And by the way, since I can't see you guys, just tell me your name and then give me your answer. That way I can feel like I'm connecting on some way. Anything else other than what Rusty said about what else is great about responsibility? Anything else?
This is Meredith. Take ownership.
Love it. Love it. When a responsibility person takes ownership, it's going to get done. And if it doesn't, they'll tell you why, and they'll tell you what they're going to do about it. Anything else about responsibility anyone want to throw out there?
Mark here, a good responsible person is dependable. Count upon them.
Yes. You guys are good. I love this. So if all that's great, what could be a downside to responsibility?
Mark again, some responsible people become too focused on a single activity and take it to conclusion, even though the situation may have changed.
Very interesting. Yeah. Anyone else? What could be a downside to responsibility?
This
Get
is
burned
Meredith.
out. They can get burned out if
Yes.
they feel dumped on because they're responsible. So they tend to get a lot of extra work.
I like that. Someone else is starting to talk. Go ahead. Let me hear the other one.
This is Meredith. I would say scared to, not necessarily scared, but don't distribute the work, keep it to themselves. Don't share.
Yes, because they figure, well, if I want this done right, I might as well do it. So I'm actually being responsible if I keep the work. Anything else that could be a downside?
I would think perhaps sometimes we take on responsibility of things we are not responsible for.
Yes. Yes. Responsibility people have a problem overcommitting sometimes because they feel like, well, if no one else is going to do it, then I guess I'll do it. Before long, people start hanging back, waiting in the meeting when the manager says, hey, who wants to do so and so and so and so? The responsibility person is going to look around. Oh, they're not going to do it. I'll do it. The next thing you know, you haven't budgeted your time to the thing you just committed to because you don't know how many hours it's going to take to do that thing. And next thing you know, now you're in proverbial hell because when a responsibility person can't be responsible, that's a bad place, right? And they may beat themselves up horribly. Anyone else have a thought on responsibility that could be a downfall if you're not careful?
This is Liz.
Hi, Liz.
They could be taken advantage of.
Yes. Yes. I'll always bring it to you because Liz will get it done. Whenever something happens, I'll just take it to her. So if we know that now, how might we offset that? If we're a person walking around with responsibility, how might we offset that not so great part?
Ask if someone would like to be part of the project.
Yeah. Yes.
Offer them opportunity to be part of the project.
That's great. Anyone else?
I would say delegate the responsibilities based on their skills and their strengths.
Yes. Yes.
And what they can bring to the table.
Thank you. Anyone else? What else might you do to offset that need to want to just be responsible for everything? I'll throw in, set a boundary. Tell yourself, I won't be responsible for more than 5 things in a day or a week or a month. You come up with that time frame, but tell yourself, no, I got to set a boundary here. It's okay for me to be responsible, but for me to be successfully responsible, maybe I don't take on more than 4 or 5 things a day. Maybe it's 3. And when I get there, I know that's my cap, that's my governor. We stay there. That could be a possible way. Responsibility person won't then take all that in. Let's check out positivity, because I'm pretty sure there's some positive people on this call as well. So anyone tell me what's great about positivity?
Hey, PJ, it's Jama. I would say create a positive environment, very enthusiastic. It's very contagious.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, true. Anyone else? What's great about positivity?
This is Liz. Because it's positive, I think you'd get the project done faster.
Possibly. That's not bad at all. Anybody else? What else is it about being around positive people? Do we hate that or do we like that?
Sometimes they can set the tone for the workplace or the department. Energetic.
Absolutely. Right? Think about that Super Bowl, since the Super Bowl just passed, when Brady and the Patriots were down by 25 points to the Falcons in the Super Bowl. And what happened in the second half, they came back. Somebody had to say, look, guys, I know we're in a hole, but we can get out. That would be positivity. And you notice they came back, they won that Super Bowl. It's one of the greatest finishes of all time. If you don't have somebody in that huddle that was positive, that could believe that the outcome could be different, that doesn't happen. So what's the negative to positivity? Can we say something negative about positivity? That just sounds wrong.
I would say sometimes they try too hard.
Okay. Anyone else? What might be a liability of positivity sometimes?
Might be hard for them to have a reality check. We're gonna win. We're gonna win. We're 40 points down. We're still gonna win in the last 35 seconds.
Yeah. If positive, remember, positivity people want to keep everything positive, but you know about life. Is everything in life always positive? So if you have someone who naturally just wants to brush over the negative realities, what could happen is a positivity person could be seen as very Pollyannish, someone who isn't in touch with reality. That's how it can come off sometimes. The other thing is sometimes positivity can seem like it's insincere, because if you come to somebody with positivity to try to tell them about something that's happened to you, and they skirt that away and go, you don't need to think about that. Just look at the positive, look at the bright side. They don't give you a chance to grieve or say what's hurting you at the moment. And that's fair, but they're trying to push you past that. So now you don't feel very good about that interaction. Whereas an empathy person would have picked up on that. An empathy person would have said, you know what? So what are you going to do? Instead of the positivity person, well, you just got to take that frown and make it upside down. And you just need to, and you give them all this that they're not ready for you because they're still in a grieving space. So if positivity isn't careful, it can come off insincere. So if this is the truth, if this is the negative about positivity, how would we offset this?
I would say encourage them, be an encourager, encourage them to weigh both sides, look at the situation and look at it from different perspectives.
Okay. Anyone else have how might we offset this if this is what we're doing?
You know, I'm talking with positive people, and if I say something different than them, they call me negative, and I call it realism. You know, it's realistic. So the opposite of positivity is being realistic. So how can we take positivity and also look at the realistic? So if you're an input person, you know, the data person, I think you're one of those, PJ, then you can look at data and information to say, while we can think positively, we still have to interject the facts and the data and the information to make proper decisions.
Yes. So almost the cheat code, I'm gonna give you all the cheat code here for almost every one of the talents. It's about boundaries, right? Again, You can't not be a positivity person. We're not going to ask you not to be one, but we also want you to understand what the liability is to that. So the boundary might be, hey, if I go to a funeral and I can see that someone's really grieving, how about at that moment, it's not important that I have to lift people up. How about I just sit back and sit with them, right? And let them know, hey, if there's anything I can do, give me a shout, right? That goes a lot further than going, come on, quit crying. You know your dad's a Christian. He's in heaven now. He's not hurting anymore. He's not on any meds. That's not the time to try to say what might be true. And again, read people, read books, read situations. So positivity, hey, what's the boundary? And if I don't know it, go find it. Person. Go ahead, Walt.
Yeah, at a funeral, the positive person says, well, they're in a better place.
Yeah. And does the person grieving not know that if they've been
Right,
raised?
right.
Mm-hmm. And so is that helpful? Not at the time, it's not.
Not really. Not really. But that's what the positive people do. So I agree with you.
Yeah. Now
React
imagine
to the person. It's about them. It's not about us. When we're talking and and interacting with people, do it in their frame of reference and in their particular moment.
Yeah, well, that's great. So I want to open up the floor. Thank you, Walt. I want to open up the floor now. So what questions do you have? If you don't have a question, what comment can you make today off of something you heard today, whether it reinforced it or was new to you? What do y'all have for me?
So PJ, this is Mark. I took Clifton Strengths back in 2012 and I got the 5 top strengths.
Mm-hmm.
And then just, I think last year I went back. And so for those who've taken it a while ago, you can go back to the Gallup website and pay a little extra and get all 34 of your strengths. So my question or comment is, I found in that second group of 5, 6 through 10, a couple of things that I really were, attracted me, that seemed true about my personality that weren't in the top 5. So can you comment on a larger scope and the value of that?
Yeah, so what you'll see with your strengths in your top 5 is you're going to see, again, the things that you lead with. That's what it is. So sometimes people will tell me, well, why isn't the empathy in my top 5? I'm a pastor. I do this, I do that. I'm always working with people. But the question is, do you lead with it? Like, you don't even think about it. You just go straight to empathy. So that's one thing. When people take the assessment, Mark, the first time is usually the more accurate time because you don't know the terms. So you're just answering freely. Usually when people have taken the assessment the second, third, or fourth time, you now know what strategic is, you know what this is. And so you're going to answer a little differently. I also said though earlier that you're not a title, you are an evolving skill set, which means that when you do take this assessment again, you should see a few things change. Not all of them though. You won't see all 5 drop out, mainly because your top 5, they're there for 2 reasons. They're there because of either nature. You've always been this way. Just ask your mother, ask your dad, ask your wife, she'll tell you. Or it's there because of nurture. This is what the brain focused on to help you stay safe so that you could blend in and be okay. So the top 5 shows up because of nature and nurture. And usually when a talent slides down, it's usually something that's in the top 10 that moves up into the top 5. It's usually nothing from 20 or lower that all of a sudden shoots up to the top 5. Did I answer the question? I hope I did.
Yeah, partly. I mean, what I didn't retake the assessment. I just got all 34.
And you're wondering, so give me the question.
And so I was just, my personal comment is, I don't think 5's enough. I think you need to know what the top 10 are.
Yeah. I would say that's fair. Here's why they used to do this. The reason why they switched it to just the top 5 is guess what was happening when they used to give everybody the full 34 and you had to pay $100 for it. Right? What was happening was when everybody took the assessment, guess what they were looking at?
Go to the last one, the bottom one.
Yes, because we've been told our whole life, if you got a report card with 4 A's and 1 C, what's everybody going to focus on? The C. So when people took this assessment, people would focus on their bottom 5 and go, I need to try to figure out how to get my bottom 5 up into my top 5, which then would push something else down to the bottom 5. So it's not about how do I move a talent up because I'm trying to strategically do something that I think I need to do, because your situations are always going to change and the way people address things is going to always change, right? Because behaviors change over time and so does personalities. So it's more about, let's stick to what's the trait, what you're most likely going to be like, and that should be the focus. So that's why they switched, Mark, to doing the top 5. But I think there is value. I would agree with you. There's value to seeing the top 10. So I would say it like this. If you get your top 5, do this for me. Promise me you'll do this, because this is what I did. I want you to know your top 5 inside and out. What's great, what's not so great, and how you offset it. Then once you know what you normally lead with, then you can go and explore what the other 29 are saying, right? But if you want to do all 34 all at once, you can, but I would imagine there'd be a lot of overwhelm because you're trying to understand what each talent means, right? And so it could take a little longer, but I'm not against it either way. Just make sure that you know what you lead with and know what you just don't reach out, what you don't reach for. It's a great question, Mark. Thank you for that.
Do you have a question? Scott, I see your mic's unmuted. Do you have a question? No, well, let me ask a question here. What about, so I've popped in my top 5, and that looks like the two of us, neither of us, you and I, neither of us have any any relationship in our top, at least the top 5. I mean, but yet you're very personable. I mean, it's amazing. You know, like you said, people can reach out to you and you know, yes, you sound like you would listen and, you know, as you coach people, I mean, that's what you're doing. So I think it's sort of interesting, you know, because I kept looking at yours to see, wait, there's no, what color is missing there? So what do you tell people when, you know, if you're sort of pigeonholed into, you know, a couple of the colors, or, you know, you're strategic, executive, and influencing, but not relationship building?
Yeah, so great question. Love that question. So here's the thing. If we look at yours, right, we see 2 thinking talents there in strategic and analytical. So we know you're not a dummy and you're not afraid of research. We know that. In between those 2 thinking talents is maximizer, which is a hard, intense influencing talent. If you're trying to take good to great, you're Jim Collins all over the place. You could do it. You could take something from 0 to 80 or 0 to 90. But if you could get 100, why not? Right? So we see that. So you're strategic and analytical, and you're probably going to point that at how you can make things better. Now, we also notice, how do you get engaged in doing stuff? You have 2 executing talents also. How you get going is you use your responsibility. Well, if I told PJ we're going to do this at this time, then it's going to happen at that time. And I'm going to make sure PJ has all the details he needs, maximizer. And I do. Whenever you send me your emails for me to come speak, I don't have to hardly do anything because you're maximized. Your whole system is maximized. So I see it. And then we also know that what puts you into action is deliberative. So when you recognize that, hey, just because everyone else is jumping off a building and they landed safe doesn't mean I should jump off the building, right? Deliberatives look for the risk and they say, let me assess the risk so that I can see how we can go do it. It's the positive. Deliberatives usually get misunderstood because people think they're negative Nancy's because they're always shooting things down. But it's not that they're just shooting things down. They're just saying, that's a mine in a minefield and I don't want to step on it because I don't want to get blown up. Hello?
Apply easily. Remote.
Hello? Somebody is
Yeah, let me turn off Scott's mic. That's his mic.
Gotcha. So here's what I would say. So what we don't see here is, you're right, there's no blue talents there in your top 5. Doesn't mean they're not in your 6 through 10, but we know what you're going to go to first. So people shouldn't come to you thinking, I'm going to tell Jeff about my Aunt Edna and her favorite pudding and where I grew up and what we did. You're not going to be as interested in that as you will understanding that, okay, where are we going? Strategy here. Where are we going? Where are we trying to take this? Right? And your analytical is, did you give me enough details that I understand what you want me to know? Right? And then that way I could be better, more responsible, and then maybe not say something stupid and put my foot in the mouth. So you don't want to hear all the extras. Doesn't mean you don't like that. And basically that's me as well. I'm not good at hearing all the extended stories because I want to be strategic and I want to maximize it, because you and I have the same top 2, see, but then we're very different from the bottom half of our top 5.
Okay.
Right. So does that help?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, when I saw you put yours up, I went and while you were presenting, I went and built my own little slide to do the same thing. I'm gonna go build a little pie chart underneath it to put the 3 categories to show that. So the next time we do this, I'll have that little pie chart on there.
Yes. Now, for people paying attention, here's what I want you to know. If Jeff is starting a big organization, who does he need to hire?
Somebody with relationship responsibility, somebody who can
Yes.
be that outgoing, that salesperson, because I am not a salesperson. I will tell people right up front, I will do everything in a facility, but I am not in sales. So.
Yes.
We are urgently seeking new talent to join our reputable company.
Scott, that's
the
funny.
financial services.
So see now we see how the dynamics play out.
We are expanding
These are in groups. Can we? Yeah, thank you. Now we see how this plays out in groups, right? When you're doing some hiring, sure, hire the best candidate, but also know what would make the best candidate the best candidate. It also tells you that, hey, if I don't have anybody here, if we hire only the execution people and only the thinking people, then who's going to beat us at customer service? The companies that have great blue, a lot of blue people and a lot of orange people, right? Because they want to influence you and they want to be your friend in terms of the blues, right? Now, does this mean that the company can't succeed without blue? No. But if you know it up front, you'll know, okay, if clients think we're just a little too stiff and we don't seem to loosen up, maybe that's part of it.
AJ, a couple more comments. Number one is I really love the book because it helps us in those paragraphs talking about that particular strength, how we can articulate that strength, how we can explain it, and how we can and also use that, which is important. A second comment is we want to use our strengths to find the job that utilizes and where we can maximize those strengths in that particular role. So if we're trying to take a job we can do and we look and see that what the skills are needed are in the bottom 10 of our Strengthsfinders, we're not going to be happy there. So don't be somebody that you're not in when you're trying to find a job. The third comment is there are some items on there that are not self-explanatory, yet some people will put them on their resume and say, I'm an input and I'm a woo. And not too many people understand what those are. So rather than list them, explain them, put a couple words about them rather than just list them.
I think that's
you're
fantastic.
great. It's fantastic.
Great. Yeah, I apologize for the slide thing, but hopefully everything else came out okay. I can't tell what y'all saw, but
Another question. So I'm looking back at I had my original folder back when I did Strengthsfinders and going through it all. And it looks like I did it back in maybe 2008, 2007, somewhere in there, maybe even 2006. I don't see an exact date on here. Should I go take it again? It's been 12, 15 years.
You know what? Because you are strategic and analytical, I think that would be kind of good for you because that'd give you more data to process. Just remember how you answered it back then was probably pretty accurate, right? And if you answer it now, you might be privy to some things that might influence how you answer. But what I would imagine is if you've always been a strategic analytical, they'll still be there. They might move down a couple, but I think it'd be interesting just to see, and you love data, to see, hey, well, did I shift? And if I shifted, what shows up now in the top 5? Like maybe you take it again, maybe individualization shows up, which is also relation talent, right? So there could be. So I think you could find value in it, right? Okay. Now, the people who try to take this assessment every other month, I think is a little bit, obsessive, right? Because we don't really want to do that. Because remember, we're always in the process. We're an evolving skill set that continues to grow. Scott's asking real fast, what's the cost for Strengthsfinder? It's still $20 to get your top 5. They'll give you there's a discount right now going on if you want to get all 34. It's under $100. I know that much for sure. And then for people who already have the top 5 but want to get the rest, that's somewhere around 30. But they shift their costs every now and again. But if you want to get your top 5, it's usually $20. And I would say do it online. People used to try to buy the book and then use the code that was in the back of the book, but you don't want to wait for all that to happen. You can do it online, get your results almost immediately. So I hope that helps there, Scott. I would say just the last kind of like, are there any other questions or perhaps maybe something that was an aha today or something that was also reinforced? I want to do that first before I close.
Any other questions, anybody?
I have one. PJ, how do you compare this to the other assessments, like the colors and so forth? Do they tend to run about the same? Because what I found, whichever ones I take, they tend to be in comparison to one another. So what are your thoughts on that?
That's a great question. Because nowadays I'll say this, I'm not a fan of every assessment. I'll tell you that. Because initially these earlier assessments, what they did, so I'm talking about DISC and I'm talking about Myers-Briggs and Clifton Strengths and maybe even Enneagram as well. They were looking more at the person. Some of these assessments that are coming out now are looking at it from the HR person's perspective. So it's trying to slot you into a certain thing so that they can say, hey, we covered our butt here. We used this particular thing here and it told us that you need 10 of these type of people. I'm against that because God built us wonderfully and there's certain things he's going to ask us to do. And I don't think we should just be, and by the way, it's going under legal hot seat right now with attorneys. They're saying, you're using that to discriminate. So that's a big battle going on too. So I'm not for those doing that. So in terms of how they're different, as I was saying up top, DISC is about behavior. It's not about personality and it's not about traits, right? And Myers-Briggs is about personality. It tells you that's what it is. And Clifton Strengths is encapsulating all of them, seeing them as traits, right? So these are some of the differences. And Enneagram has some numbers and a whole bunch of other type of stuff. I don't know that I necessarily agree with a complete methodology, but it's there. But I would tell people, you don't need to take 15, 20 of these things. And I know people who, they take these things like people eat chips, Lay's chips. As soon as a new one pops out, they can't wait to take it. And here's what I asked them. What do you know about yourself now? Now that you've taken 100 different assessments, who are you? And they can't, because who could compile all that data, right? And then make it make sense? Because you didn't ask the questions on the assessment that was pointed to get to a certain result. So how could you? So my thought process is on that is, I think you should take a couple, right? But I don't think anyone should be thinking, well, I got to take all these because this one's focusing on that and this one's focusing on this. And then when we ask you, well, who are you? You still can't tell us. So I would just tell people, take a couple for sure, but don't be one of those people that, you're reading them like horoscopes at this point. And I just don't see the weight that it could give you. I don't see the transformation that can come out of doing that, right? And that's not to say there aren't other good assessments outside the 3 or 4 that I've mentioned. There are, but just be careful. They're coming out every day now. People tell me all the time, have you heard about this one? Have you heard about this one? As if I'm supposed to know about every assessment that comes out. No, I don't keep up with them all because they're not all useful and helpful to me, mainly because I have to understand their methodology. Why are they asking the questions they're asking to create the data set that they're trying to get? Right. And I think it ends up being more confusing, but was that helpful? I hope that was helpful.
Yes, it was. And do you have a resource where I can go see the difference and comparison? I know you said, the DISC is behavior, the Myers is personality. So is there a resource to go and look and compare?
There are. I think if you Google comparison analysis of the assessments, there might be one. I know that Gallup has one because they have data scientists that work there as well as behavioral scientists. And so they've got it. So, but you can look at the comparison. And if you want to send me an email or something, I can send you a link because that's where I got my data from.
Okay. Thank you, PJ. This has been very good today.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Again, I apologize for the slideshow. So let me land the plane for us. Is that what Jeff, is that good? Can I go ahead and land the plane?
Yes, please. Let's land the plane.
Yes. So let me land the plane here. So here's the thing. Here's what I hope you picked up in just the scant moments that we had today. Number 1, everybody has talents. Number 2, but not everybody can articulate them well. 3, not everyone knows how to polish, right? But what I hope that you learned today is, in terms of your job search, the moment you can communicate well to the interviewer what you bring to the table, and you're able to show the strength and the weaknesses that you've mitigated, you have now become an asset. If you show up on that interview and you don't know those things, you have now become a liability. And they will take your resume and they'll put it in that pile that says, not this one. So this means you have control. You can learn. You can explore what's great about you. And even if you can't say it, ask the people around you, hey, what do you really enjoy about the time we spend together? What stands out to you? And whatever they tell you, is your marketing, right? And so here's what I'm going to encourage you to do. Don't just take the assessment, learn it, know it, be it, walk it, because you already are. It's now you have a language to describe why you're a people person, why you're a critical thinker, why it's important to you to be extremely focused when you get on things. And when you do that, any interviewer wants to hear what makes you valuable. Instead of that way, they don't have to go, oh, not this one. So go out there, polish the strengths, be valuable because it's already in you. It's just up to you to do the rest of the work. And ladies and gentlemen, that would be my time.
PJ, thank you very, very much. Great information. I mean, it's always outstanding. This is a topic that, it's fascinating. This is one of the 3 books, one of the 3 things I recommend that everybody take the Clifton Strengthsfinders, that it really can help describe who you are. If you're not really sure how to use it correctly, if anybody wants to go look at my LinkedIn profile, in my about section, I actually use the top 5 words in sentences that describe who I am. So it helps a company understand what it is I can do for them. So you can at least get an idea on how to use that. All right, coming up next Friday, our speaker will be Elizabeth Lyons about how to vet a company, how to decide if this is the company for you. She'll be with us next Friday morning. We have another landing. So while the meeting was going on, I got an email from Mike Murphy saying that he has landed. He's a man of few words because this is all he told me. I don't know where, but he said thank you to the team as well as all the speakers for their support. So he has landed, and he makes our 6th landing from this group for the year. So he's number 6. If you have not put your 30-second introductions into the Zoom chat box, please do so we can get you on the roster, and you'll get a copy of everybody who's here this afternoon, and we'll get that updated. Career DFW and Career USA, we're putting on training 4 days a week. Next Tuesday, Kurt Vondermarter will be with us to talk about LinkedIn from a recruiter's eye. Kurt spends $10,000 a year on a full-blown license with LinkedIn. He'll show us what it looks like from the back end. Next Tuesday evening, I'll be doing a presentation for the Career Network Ministries in McLean in Vienna, Virginia, about the 4 areas of your job search to focus on. It is open to the public. The Zoom link is out on the Career DFW and Career USA calendars. Next Wednesday, we'll have a practice interview. You'll be able to watch an actual practice interview. And then next Thursday, being the 4th Thursday of the month, we'll have a speaker talking about networking. Please join us for that. So this session has been recorded. It will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel. On the Career USA YouTube channel, click on playlist. Otherwise, you'll see a jumbled mess of all sorts of videos in some random order. But if you click on playlist, every video that I upload goes into a playlist. You can select the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group speakers. Click underneath where it says View Full Playlist, and up will come a list of the titles and the dates, and you'll be able to see whatever title it is you happen to be looking for and being able to go back and see that information. If you'd like to join us for a pizza, pasta, salad, hot cinnamon rolls, just come for hot cinnamon rolls if that's all you want. Come today, 12:30, Mama's Pizza on Parker. It's right next to, there's a racetrack, an oil change place and a racetrack right next to a store. So we're on Parker, a half block west of Custer. Thank you very much for joining us today, everybody. Have a great afternoon. Have a great rest of your day. PJ, thank you very, very much.
I think I might meet you guys for lunch. How about that?
Oh, please do. We'll be there.
Yeah, so if you have any other questions.
I just know that we can't socially talk about our personal lives to each other. So we'll have to stick to business, I think.
PJ, I got a question, comment.